Welcome to the Cyber Don channel. I'm Don, a certified cyber nerd. I focus on teaching and mentoring both new and seasoned cybersecurity professionals. In this video, we're going to talk about whether certs or degrees are king when getting started in cyber. Stay tuned. Let's talk about certification. Now, in the beginning of my career, I thought certifications were completely useless. I was given a bad piece of information early in my career that said you should never get certified in something you're already doing. That is absolutely incorrect, and I'm going to tell you why. First off, certifications let not only yourself, but everybody around you know that you have the minimum base knowledge of information to be able to do your job appropriately. Now, for the longest time, I only had my Security Plus certification. But over the last couple of years, where I've gained additional certifications, I've realized the value of getting those certifications. Now, as you go through cybersecurity, I recommend that you get certifications, at least two a year. If you could do more, that's good. If you could only do one a year, that's good as well. However, two a year, I think, is appropriate for our job industry and our job field. It'll keep you current, it'll keep your information fresh, and it'll keep you on an equal playing field with those around you. Now, I highly recommend you start out with your Security Plus. I've had this for several years, and it's been a benefit not only to be able to get jobs, but to be able to at least have my resume looked at. Now, after you get your Security Plus, you can then branch out into other directions. You may want to go get your CISA Plus. You may want to go get your Pen Test Plus. You may want to go a different direction into governance, risk, and compliance, or into another area of cybersecurity. However, regardless of what direction you want to go into, Security Plus is usually the minimum base that you need to get started. Now, this specific site right here from Paul Jeremy, I think is an excellent resource for you to be able to map out all the certifications you could ever want. Next, degrees. Now, I am a guy who it took 20 years to get my degree. So I will say right off the bat, I thought degrees were useless. Absolutely useless, just a big money grab. However, I was completely incorrect. Now, degrees may not get you the job, but degrees are going to give you that base knowledge that you cannot get on your own. It's going to standardize your approach to learning and knowledge in such a way that it's almost impossible to mimic with self learning. Now, up until a certain point in my career, I was almost 100% self taught. Everything I learned the hard way, either through a lab or something on my own. However, when I was able to enter a degree program and then complete it, I was able to realize the different set of knowledge that I gained in the degree program as opposed to what I was learning on my own. When you learn on your own, you're really going to focus on the things that interest you. However, in a degree program, you're going to focus on whatever they tell you is important. A good example of this is databases. For about 15 years, I kept my distance from databases. I never wanted to learn that. To me, it's the most boringest thing ever. It's like eating dry bread with no water. I mean, it is awful, in my opinion. However, when I took my degree program, I had no choice but to not only take one database class, but I had to take two database classes. Now, the good information that I gained from that is I gained the ability to understand why databases are so important and how they fit into the scope of cybersecurity, especially on the back end with our tools and different functions. Also, I gained a greater understanding of how I could use regular Excel and basically turn it into a database, which I think is super impressive, but also super important if you have any roles that require a lot of reporting, a lot of normalizing data, and things of that nature. So, although I avoided databases for about 15 years, I am so happy that I took that class finally. But that is what makes the difference between self-taught and getting a degree. Now, one recommendation I have in the path that I took was WGU. I highly recommend this online university that allows you to get a degree in cybersecurity, um, and then have the competence to be able to move forward. Now, WGU's online curriculum is not for everybody. So there's nothing wrong with going to a traditional school and learning cybersecurity. The main differences that you will see is in a traditional school, you have a teacher that you can meet with face to face and ask them specific questions. Now, the X factor. The X factor is what I was able to leverage in most of my career, and that is experience, experience, experience. Now, as I mentioned earlier, I only had one certification and I did not have any degrees. However, I was able to leverage my experience, first starting in IT security and then finally changing over to cybersecurity. So I was able to leverage all of that experience, and that's how I was able to get cybersecurity roles. Now, a lot of people say to me, "How can I get experience if nobody will give me a job?" Well, in that case, you're going to have to be creative. Nowadays, there are many hands on platforms that will allow you to gain the experience that you need. Platforms such as Try Hack Me, platforms such as Hack the Box. There's multiple other CTF type platforms. All of these will allow you to gain hands on experience that's not only practical, functional in your job. Now, let's say you don't want to go that route. You could also go with building your own home lab. Now, this is what I've used almost my entire career. And it's actually one of the questions I ask newer guys. Do you have a home lab? Are you practicing on your own? This is super critical to whatever you're doing, not just cyber. Let's say you're in IT. Let's say you work Active Directory. You should have an Active Directory home lab that you can at least tinker with, play around with, understand the ins and outs of the tools that you're expected to support, to manage, and to upgrade. So I highly recommend building a home lab, and this all fits into your experience. So we started out this video talking about what was the key. Is it certs? Is it degrees? What is the key to being successful in cybersecurity? The best way I think is a combination of all of these certifications with the degrees, with the hands-on experience. I think with these three factors, you can't help but to be successful in cybersecurity.